Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Jeremy Powers, and you're listening to the third episode of the GCN Cyclocross podcast. Today's a very special episode because I'm actually here in the United Kingdom at the GCN studios, and I'm sitting across from my pal, Marty McDonald, who is our first guest on the show as usual. In today's episode, Marty and I talk about all of the firsts that are happening in cyclocross right now. Marty catches up with the up-and-coming rider, Anna Kay, about her first World Cup podium and her ability to bunny hop the barriers. Then we have a nice conversation with the three-time world champ Erwin Vervecken in the Top Verdecke Vervecken segment, where we talk about all the things that are going down in Belgian cyclocross. Today's featured guest is with fellow North American Maghalie Rochette. She's the current Canadian national champion and Pan American champion. In our chat, we talk about her come up in the sport, her first World Cup victory a couple of months back in Iowa, women's cyclocross, and a bunch more. We also have a getting to know Maghalie segment, which proposes a bunch of hypothetical questions that Maghalie answers very well. It is a great conversation, and I think you guys are going to all really enjoy it. If you guys haven't yet, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. Definitely leave us a review. Also, hit us up on social media at GCN Tweet on Twitter and at Global Cycling Network on Instagram. If you guys haven't yet, leave us a review. I'd really appreciate it, especially if you like it. All right, so let's hop into this, Marty. How are you today?
I am just splendid. Thank you very much for having me back.
Dude, it is awesome to have you back. It's great to be here in the studio with you. We don't always get to be sitting across from each other, so fantastic to be here with you. It's been a season of firsts, Marty. We have, let's start right with the weekend. All the live coverage racing. You had Nicky Bramier and Magnus Bagstead on the live call with you for the first time.
Yeah, great to have Maggie with us. We go way back. I used to be his manager a long time ago. He's one of my best friends and haven't done cyclocross with him before, so that was a first. And then Nicky Bramier, she made her commentary debut just a few weeks away from giving birth, and she was fantastic. It was great to have her and great to have her insight as well.
Man, I know. Yeah, you've got a Tour de France stage winner, a Paris-Roubaix winner, and then you've got Nicky, who's a World Cup winner. She won at Namur famously. She's just been such an accomplished rider. So many great insights on the racing, on the live calls. It's been awesome. For me, as a fan, watching you guys tear it up has been great.
Yeah, it was great to have her with us. The other firsts.
Yeah.
Quinten Hermans.
Yeah, man. Quinten Hermans tearing it up, taking that first win in Beringen. Maybe a name that some of you don't know is Quinten Hermans, but he's been on Sven Nyss's Telenet team for quite a few years here, and he's been a really dominant under 23.
Yeah, he's won a lot as an under 23. You see those riders when you look back through their career, but when you move up to elite, it's like, okay, you start your apprenticeship again. Your results are kind of like, okay, all those are gone before. Now you have to prove that all that talent that you've got can transfer. Beringen, new course. They've run mountain bike races on it before. It was very mountain bikey, up a massive hill, down a massive hill. And Quinten Hermans, he capitalized on that little tumble by Tom Pidcock. He's had a win in the States, but for a Belgian rider to win on home soil, it's a big thing.
Dude, huge. Yeah, and I actually talked to him about that in a quick little interview that I have here that we're going to hop into right now. You've been tearing it up lately, taking your first win of the season.
Yeah, it was an exciting win. It was like 10 kilometers from my home, which is pretty ordinary. Yeah. Also, we're in Belgium, so nothing is very far, but it was cool to win so close to home.
Yeah. You had taken another elite win in the United States, but that was your first one. How are you feeling for today? You just came back from a good training camp.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of hours this week, so it's always like a little bit nerve-wracking to see how the form is after that, because you didn't do any sprints or and today is a pretty explosive course, or a lot of corners, and we'll see. I'm excited to race you.
That was great. I'm so glad you managed to catch up with him. Yeah. I think he's destined for some big things.
Yeah, man. It was awesome to be able to just chat with him for a minute there. Another first is Yara Casterline.
She's, at the moment, one of the finds of the season. Again, really, really good rider, national champion as a youngster. But now with that 777 team, and they are just ripping it up, for want of a better phrase. But victories in Havre and also in Koppenberg. And Koppenberg is such an iconic race. And I just think the manner in which she's winning, it's a mature way that she's riding. kind of belies her years.
Yeah, man, that 777 team is absolutely tearing it up. And it was also a first for the team at Koppenberg because they finished first, second, and third with Anna Marie Wurst and Alice Arzoufi taking those other spots on the podium along with Yara Casterline winning. So if you guys aren't familiar with those names yet, definitely want to tune in, want to get familiar with them because they are tearing it up. Another first, Marty, Thomas Main.
Thomas Main of Tartaletto Isarix. He's a really great young rider from the UK. He's won rounds in Derby of our national trophy series. He was up there in the British National Championships last year. He won Koppenberg as a junior. Whoa. For British fans. Everyone knows Tom Pidcock, those sort of names. But Thomas Main got a great start in Bergen and he just climbed with Tone Arts and Tom Pidcock and he finished fourth and it was massive for him.
Dude, I mean, he's on my radar now. I started following him on Instagram and I'm impressed. I mean, I think that for the first time to be in the front group with the best riders in the world, a big, big first for him. Next up, we saw the first big duel of the season. Iservit and Pidcock punching it out on the Koppenberg.
Definitely. They've been each other's arch nemesis as under 23s. And just Koppenberg, that drama as a commentator, it's the sort of moments you live for. When he came around the bottom of the Koppenberg and his chain came off and it just reignited the race. Oh. And then it just came down to that final lap, that bike change. Pidcock went into the pits. Iservit didn't. You saw Pidcock glance to his left. They kind of came together. Pidcock changed bikes. Iservit went around the corner. Boom, went. That was it.
Dude, it was proper cyclocross racing. I was at the Koppenberg and I was right on the top of the hill. The fans were just smashing on the boards next to it, yelling for Iservit, yelling for Pidcock. It was truly cyclocross at its best. So another first of the year, Marty, was Mathieu Van Der Poel's return at Ruddervoorde.
Yeah, the much anticipated return as well. And we were not sure, were we? The last time we saw him with a number on his back was at the Yorkshire Road World Championships. He would gone away, have that rest, get ready for the cross season. And people were like, will he, won't he, can he a bit? And everyone compete with him. You look at it, it was the king is back.
Long live man, the king. He is. And I actually got to catch up with the man himself. So let's take a listen to that interview and just hear exactly what he had to say.
For now, I'm feeling quite good. So it's really nice weather here today. And yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's your first race back, obviously. You have not raced against Eli Iservit or Tom Pidcock. They've been showing that they've got great form coming up. Excited, nervous, probably both?
Yeah, not really nervous. Cyclocross is something I do for a long time now, so it's a habit. And yeah, I'm a little bit curious how the guys are doing, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
You're ready to rip. And this course in particular, do you like it? Is it something that favors you?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite, especially in these conditions. And yeah, I hope I'll find the good pace today and have a good technique.
Great, man. Thank you so much. Good luck today.
No problem. Thank you.
You can just hear that confidence, can't you?
Yeah, you can, man. He has that emotional dominance that, like, yeah, a big rider like himself has. He's ready to go. He's trained. He knows what the things are saying. He exudes the confidence, and he went out there and he showed us exactly what he can do.
It is, and cross is him. He loves cyclocross. They were throwing it at him early on in the race. You know, the Paushausen riders and Laurens Swake. I think he had one of the best races we've seen from him up against Van Der Poel. Telenet Bowels were there, but in the end, it was just super smooth and it was great. Yeah,
he tore it up, put his hands up at the end. Big win for him. Going to be a lot more of that. Another piece that we have for the show today, Marty, is that you got to catch up with the up-and-coming rider, Anna Kay.
Anna Kay, great rider. She's got such a big fan base. She's out there. We got to talk about her first World Cup podium. She's been out there bunny hopping the barriers. So yeah, it was great to catch up with her.
Yeah, I can't wait to listen to that piece. So let's hop into that.
Anna, welcome back. Last winter, we saw you kind of progressing, and it really has been a really steady progression over the last few seasons. What sort of racing domestically, and we know, you know, shout out to the big sort of Northeast Cyclocross League massive that we know that are always on our live broadcast as well. You know, national series. Then you dipped your toe into Belgium, and then last sort of winter, beginning with Story Racing, and then moving into Experza Footlogics. It's been quite a journey.
Yeah, it has been. It has been steady, but yeah, it has just all come at once at the same time, and it's just exciting. Like I'm just, it's just exciting being a part of it.
And the Exposer Foot Logics teams, I know Christelle is doing it's a great job and a great sort of mission that she's on. Tell us a little bit more about the team, how it's structured, and again, what sort of difference that's made to you.
So there's me, Manon, who's Dutch, Alicia's Belgian, and we have a new rider, Marion, who's French. So we've got 4 now, and it has really helped having them riders around. For each race, it's kind of like relieves the pressure a bit. One of us will probably get a result, but then also for like training wise, it's really helped having them riders to train with. Me and Alicia train so well together, like we push each other, and it's I think that's been a massive help this summer.
Looking at what you've done so far, what are you looking to try and achieve? Have you set yourself some targets for this winter?
I hadn't set like specific targets. I just wanted to improve on last year and just keep learning each race and keep improving each race.
One thing that we've got this year that we didn't have a lot last year was mud. And I think you can correct me if I'm wrong. It was your first US racing trip in cyclocross when you went over for the World Cup. How was that? Yeah. And you had some pretty savage conditions for that second World Cup.
Yeah, that was probably some of the worst mud I've ever rode in on there for that second World Cup round. It was mental. But I never really used to like the mud, but I think I actually quite like it now. You learn to ride in it and like you learn your style of riding in it. But that was pretty bad. Like,
thanks for joining us. Thanks for taking the time, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Really great interview. Great to hear her personality and how much she has going on and how new everything is for her. It's really nice.
Yeah, she's a real talent. I think she's got a massive future.
Marty, what do we have coming up in the live racing? Because we got quite a few races on the docket over here at GCN.
We have indeed. So GCN Racing, don't forget, get in there, subscribe. You can also hit reminders that you know when we're going to go live. We got our schedules out there. European Championships, they are going to Italy this weekend. We have that to certain territories. We're back on Monday. We're in Neal. And then the following weekend, they head to Tabor for the World Cup. And we have the DVV from Hummer.
Yeah, we are bringing it over here. It's awesome. So Marty, I want to say thank you so much for today. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's awesome. And now we are going to hop into this segment with Erwin Vervecken, the 3-time world champ, bringing it, talking all about what's going down in the Belgian scene and what he's seeing and hearing out there in the field. So let's hop into this piece with Erwin for the Top Vervecken segment. Okay, so we're here in person this time, Erwin, in the GCN World's headquarters studio. Thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. It's not so far from home this time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but we're here at the Koppenbergcross. We just watched a fantastic race. The 777 team had some duking it out in amongst the team. Yara Kasterlein taking the victory, Anna-Marie Wurst, and then Alice Arzoufi, top 3 women. That was a great race.
Especially Yara Kasterlein, the Dutch lady. She's super strong in recent weeks. She started the season very, very strong. So she's now proving that she's a very good climber. She won last weekend in Gavere on Sunday, now on the Koppenberg. She's incredibly strong and on the Koppenberg, even if you have like a 5 meter, it's always a battle. It's a struggle for life, and if you're in second position, it always feels like, okay, I'm gonna catch her because she's right there on the cobbles. You see her, she's suffering, and she proved to be in super good condition. The question is, can she hold it for a long time, or is this just a peak?
She was really impressive today. I mean, I think she was better in the climb than Anna-Marie Wurst, but Anna-Marie Wurst, when we spent the day with Bart Wellens and they were running back and forth between each other for a piece that's going to go on GCN later, just following the team and how it worked. And Anna-Marie had a problem at the start with her tire, a flat tire. She had to get a different bike. She had to switch the bike, wrong pressure. It was just a lot of, as cyclocross is, it's chaos.
That's a story I didn't hear because I was just watching the race.
Yeah.
But of course, that's also part of the full battle. I saw Anna-Marie. She was always always very good in the descents, but Castellan was so strong uphill, and especially the cobbles on the Koppenberg.
Yeah, man. And this is a race that you've done many times. The course has changed.
Yeah,
now.
It's different from what I did. At the time I was racing, the finish was down on the main street. So it was much more recovery. Now it's up and down, and especially the finish is so hard. So it's a different course. It didn't suit me so well. I got second and third once, but never could win this one. I probably a bit too heavy and a bit too tall for such a race. But anyway, it's a classic, and
it is. Yeah, it is absolutely a classic. Yeah,
it's probably one of the 5 or maybe even top 3 classics in Belgium. Huh?
Yeah, it is. I agree. And I, being here, sitting at the top of the Koppenberg, I've also raced this race a couple of times, and I can tell you that I've never done a race where I've felt so exasperated. Maybe Namur, which is your doing. Yeah. Namur is also very difficult.
Koppenberg has longer climbs, and I think it's more like Namur has much more interval. You have like short pieces where you can rest your legs, and I think this one is harder.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And the course is new. It's different in that, like, I think it's even harder than we raced it. I think it's now harder.
It's for sure harder because we had a long downhill, a very technical one. But then the piece at the bottom was a recovery piece. So you had a long recovery. Yeah. And you also saw in those years that we often had groups of 5, 6, 7, up to 10 riders making it half the race. Yeah. You don't see that anymore on this course.
No, you don't. It's 1s and 2s all over the place. Yeah, it was fun to watch today. And sitting at the top, obviously, Eli Iserbyt and Tom Pidcock. A duel.
Yeah, it was like a U23 race. They battled a lot of races in recent years in the U23 World Cup. So Eli is also super strong, started the season very well. And Pidcock, we know that he can handle such races, but still Iserbyt, without his mechanical problems, 2 laps or 3 laps, no, 2 laps to go, it would have won with 30 seconds ahead of the rest. Or ahead of Pidcock, and on all the rest probably at 1.5 minutes. Yeah. So for our ranking, it's gonna be tough because Mathieu chose not to do the first leg, but I heard his manager, and it's still his goal to win the GC at the end. So he has to make up 5 minutes.
And that's possible though, because he only has lost 5 minutes, which is maybe around 11th or 12th place. I was looking at the results today, and the 11th or 12th place rider is already 5 minutes down. Okay. So he's going to be slotting in right around 11th. So I mean, if it was anybody else, I would say maybe it's not possible. But with Van Der Poel, I have to say it's actually possible.
Yeah. Well, the spot is not so important in the timing, but to make up 5 minutes. I remember last year he also lost 4 minutes 12 on the Koppenberg, and then one in the second leg last year was in Niel. I don't know, maybe 15-20 seconds, but then in Hammer he made a gap of 2 minutes, and it's there where he made a big step. This year, with Iserbyt riding so strong, it's going to be a struggle. Yeah. But I love it because, without Mathieu missing 5 minutes here, you probably can already say, okay, he's the winner. And even with Iserbyt, because that's now the big question. They will ride against each other on Sunday. Will Mathieu be able to right away reach the level of Eli? And that's the big question. Nobody knows, but I think Mathieu will still be better.
I think that Mathieu has to be even nervous. Even as world champion, he hasn't raced these riders yet. He'll see them on Sunday for the first time at Ruddervoorde. That's going to be, we've both been there. When you're coming into the season, you haven't tested yourself against the competition.
But we're talking about Mathieu Van Der Poel, so it's a different level. You're right. We needed like 2-3 races to get in a good pace, and then maybe 5-6 more to get to the very good condition. This is Mathieu Van Der Poel, so his basic level is still way ahead of all the rest.
Okay, well, I'm going to wrap it there, Erwin. I want to say thank you for your time today. It's a pleasure to be here with you in person.
Thanks. It's also a pleasure to meet again. We've raced a lot together. I remember coming over to the States on different occasions, and I think even my last victory wasn't. No, yeah, it was a battle between me, you, and Jonathan Page.
Yes.
So it was my very last UCI event. I won in
Wisconsin.
Sun Prairie.
Sun Prairie. I think it was Wisconsin. Yeah.
So good times.
Good times, man. Well, it's a pleasure to have you on the show, and publicly, thank you so much for giving us your insights.
Yeah, thanks also a lot from my side.
That was a super fun chat with Erwin. To be in person with him at the Koppenberg and to hear his insights on all the stuff that's going on with the women, that's going on with the men's side, and then the return of Van Der Poel. And as we've seen the update right now, Van Der Poel has raced in Ruddervoorde. He's kicked his season off with that huge victory. He was able to break away about halfway through the race and take the win convincingly. Tons of respect for him. He tore it up just as Erwin said, coming in with a basic level, not even having raced yet, was able to dismantle the field and put his hands up at the end. So Erwin was right. Also super fun for me to reminisce with him a little bit about everything that we did back in the day when we were racing against each other head to head. Always a pleasure to catch up with Erwin. But now it is on to Maghalie Rochette. I think you guys are going to really like this interview. It is, I love her energy. I love the passion that she has for this sport. She's been a friend of mine for a long time, and I just personally really enjoyed this conversation, and I think that you will too. I am here with Maghalie Rochette, who is the current Pan American champion and the current Canadian national champion. It is an absolute pleasure to welcome you to the podcast, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a complete honor to be here with you guys. Thanks.
Tell us a little bit about where you're from and where you grew up, because I think some people might not know.
Yeah, so I live 45 minutes north of Montreal. That is in Canada, French-speaking part of Canada. We chose this house. Actually, I bought this house with David this last year, so exactly a year ago. And we bought it because it's about 100 meters from the start of really cool mountain bike trails.
Okay.
So that's where we live. It's a really small town, but we don't need much. We're happy. We're happy living in the woods and being close to the trails.
Tell us about David, because you guys are a team. You and David are out there. Can you tell us about David and how that all works throughout the fall and winter?
Yeah, we're totally a team. I could not do anything that I'm doing without David because he does so much for me. We are not married. We've been together for 9 years. We've been engaged for like 5.
Okay.
But with all the racing, we've never found a time to get married. And when we actually had a little bit of time, we decided to buy a house instead of investing in a wedding.
Okay.
So we're still just like,
okay.
Just hanging, just engaged and waiting for a good moment.
That's great. That's fine. I'll talk to him about that off the show. Just kidding.
Eventually we'll get there. But yeah, I mean, David is amazing. He is my best friend. He is my boyfriend. He is the mechanic on our team. He is my coach. He is my training partner. He drives the car when I'm just kind of sleeping in the back seat. So he does really a lot for me, and it's been really fun. I think our relationship evolved a lot through the years, and even like our coach-athlete relationship evolved a lot. We're able to be honest with each other, and he's able to tell me what I need to work on. I try to take the critique as well as I can and try to improve from that. So it's been really great having him so close and so involved and doing that together.
Yeah, I think it is hard to kind of balance those things, but it seems like you guys do a really great job at it. When you have a team, right, you share those experiences with one another. If I have a teammate, then I'm equally as happy for them. The same way that we should talk about Katarina Nash was obviously such a great post from you about how you guys have had a relationship for a long time and how she's helped you. But definitely, I feel like you have a good crew of people in your circle, and you guys are doing good work, and it's just great to see it all come together.
I couldn't be luckier, actually. I think I have such a great entourage, a lot of people around me, and yeah, I just feel so lucky. And I'm a really emotional person. Sure. And I just feel so much love, and to me that's like super powerful. Yeah, it's just, I feel it in my belly, and it just makes me so happy. And when there's those people around me, I can feed from that, and so lucky. I can't say it enough.
So I'm actually going to talk about that, because I was going to say here that you are one of the friendliest and positive riders that I see on the circuit. You always have a really great, fun, outgoing attitude. I would have to say that when I saw the first picture at Rochester a couple of weeks ago, I saw what I said was a very determined Maghalie Rochette. Like, it was not, you weren't smiling, although not that you weren't smiling, you just weren't outgoingly making time to like have chit chat and be funny, and really there was a little bit of a different approach. And I think that all ties into this next step in your career. You're 26 years old. You're in a sport that's really starting to appreciate women's racing and things like that. I'm just curious about that determination.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, and it's actually a key factor for me this season, and I think I've been working on that for a few years. I told you that I'm very emotional. It's kind of new that I can control these emotions. So those emotions, like, I get extremely high, if that makes sense, like super happy, but I can get super extremely anxious as well. I've struggled with that. I used to not really be able to control my nerves at races, and sometimes I would, and I would have a great race, and most of the time I was not really able, and I would choke often, and I've been really struggling with that. And it took people around me and myself looking at myself in the mirror and just being able to be honest with myself and realize what were these things that I needed to work on. Because I love training, and for me the training was the easy part. I always wanted to work harder, but the mental part was super difficult for me. And so I've had to work a lot on that, and I think I'm slowly figuring myself out and slowly finding some ways that I can manage my excitement, manage my nerves, and it's really helping me. I'm able to stay more calm at the races, and I have started doing meditation, and can sound a little corny maybe, but it really helps me out. It just really helps me to stay grounded and just be present in the moment and know what I need to do. Because the truth is I'm not that much stronger than I was last year or the year before, but I'm just more, I feel like I've been more able to put it together when it counts, and that's really about figuring my mindset and my emotions.
How do you meditate? Do you use, like, I used Headspace personally as one of the things. I'm just curious, did you go and get some classes from someone? Do you do like visualization? Just if you don't mind asking.
No, I don't mind at all. That's a great question. I did Headspace, then, because I mean, people have been talking to me about that for a long time, and I was...
Takes a long time to pick it up.
Totally. I was not picking it up. I was like doing it for 5 days and then stopping.
Yeah.
And eventually it really came from me, and I'm like, you know what, I really think that can help me. I also really don't have the best attention span. I'm not great at being focused. And so I felt like this was something I needed to work on. So I used the Calm app. At first I was doing the guiding meditation through this app, and now I mostly do timed meditation. So nothing really happens. They're just like a nice sound in the background, and when it's done, it does bong, so you're done. So that's what I'm doing, and the way I use it, I try to do it almost every day, but I don't go crazy about it. If it's a busy day and I just can't do it, it's fine. I don't judge myself for it, but especially on race day, I definitely do it at least like a 10 or 15 minutes in the morning, just kind of when I'm preparing, and then I do it again right before the race. So I do my warm-up, and then I come back somewhere. I've done it in a porta potty. Like I just need a quiet space, and it can be anywhere. I can take about 2 minutes. I just like take a few deep breaths, try to remind myself, like, what am I going to do now? Like, what is it that I need to do? What I need to focus on? Where am I? What am I doing? Yeah. Just like a 2 minute that I can, now I'm ready. Like, now I'm focused. I know what I'm doing, and then I can go for it.
Yeah, you have to wrangle that.
Yeah, totally.
That nervous system. Like, it's just, you're able to control it with breath is a really powerful thing.
Yeah.
And it's, I think I hear so many athletes that are doing that.
And when you said about, like, when you're nervous, like, that is something else that I kind of changed my perspective on. Is I used to think that being nervous was super negative.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't be nervous. I can't believe I'm nervous. And I'd be kind of mad at myself. And then I started looking at it the other way. And now I see it like a kind of a tank. And when I get stressed out and when I get nervous, it's like the energy is just rising and rising and rising and rising. And I'm like, oh, this is good. And just like waiting for it to go so I can let it out. Yeah. So that's how I prefer to see it. It just gives me so much more power than when I was mad at myself for being nervous,
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that is such a good part about like growing up as a racer. You take time to learn. You're constantly evolving. I felt like I was always a student, you know what I mean?
Oh, totally.
Always figuring something new out. I'm doing something different. I'm trying different things. And I'm glad to hear that you found that and it's working for you. It's awesome. So I want to switch gears just a little bit and ask you about the women's side of cyclocross racing is quite possibly more popular at this time than men's cyclocross racing. It is such a changing of the tides. And I just would be curious to know your general thoughts about what you think about with the women's sport and how things are evolving, but also how you feel like in the industry right now. You make an email 5 years ago, maybe you don't get something back because it's women's cyclocross. It's not that important. You make an email now and we need to talk.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I personally don't see it as a competition. I mean, I'd be happy if all races of cyclocross would be through the roof.
All ships rise mentality.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's equal is equal, and so that I don't feel like the women need to be better or anything like that. It's just we're all on the same ship. Exactly. It is cool though that there is a lot of attention to women's cycling. I think the sport is in a really good place, and one of the reasons for that is that so many great athletes are taking part in it. It's really cool because you have amazing mountain bike athletes like Yolanda Neff is going to be there, Pauline. There's a lot of road athletes like Lucinda Brand and Marianne Vos, and then the cyclocross specific athletes, and it just makes for such a strong group of people. And that's what's exciting because it's never the same person winning. It's always really, really tight racing. So I think that's what is bringing a lot of attention. Now about like how I feel about being in the sport at this time, I feel extremely lucky because although I'm aware that not everything is absolutely equal right now, and I think it will, I just feel lucky that we are where we are because the people before me have worked their asses off just to make that happen, and they made change happen. And it's really interesting. I was talking with Tim Johnson this week because a lot of people were asking me if I was the first Canadian woman to win a World Cup. And I'm like, I feel like Lynn won a World Cup. And he told me a story that in 2002, Lynn Bessette won a race.
Yes, I know this race.
Yes, she won a race in Nome, France. Yes. And this race was the women's event at a men's World Cup. But it wasn't technically a World Cup. And I was like, I can't believe that. Like, they didn't, that's not that long ago. And they didn't even have a World Cup for women back then. And so thinking of the progress that have been made, I just feel so grateful for all these people that fought, like Georgia Gould and Helen Wyman and all the women that fought for us to have more equal prize money and just more opportunities. I just feel like I couldn't complain,
I'm happy for you all. I think it's the right time, it's just, it's such, the racing's compelling. You guys have great battles. I think that there's a time when the women are the premier event every weekend. If the men's racing is stays similar to the way it is, and I called a ton of races last year, and there were races that had me on the edge of my seat. So I'm not saying one thing or the other. I just think that like you said, it is a great time for women's cyclocross.
It really is, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to change gears again.
Okay.
I wanted to bring up another thing that I wanted to ask you about. So there's an event in New England that happens in the springtime, and it's called Rasputitsa. They got in touch with you. I assume Heidi. Heidi's someone that I know. She's one of the people that has a hand in Rasputitsa. It's a gravel event. It's really gnarly. If you haven't seen it, it is worth a check out. I've done it. It's hard. It's fun. You get off and you run, troop through snow and things like this. It can be really, really brutal. Have you done the race?
I have done it this year. It is brutal, but it's so great.
So here's the coolest thing though. You crafted the trophies for the winners, and I watched a video that you did on it a while back, and I remember being like, okay, I didn't know that there was this dimension to you, but I have a lot of questions about it. But I'm just curious, like, if we go down the list of 100 people that are in the top 50 of the UCI rankings, like that list of people that can make winners trophies, short.
You'd be surprised. I'm sure some people.
I'm just going out on a limb. How, why, and with all your training and everything like that, how, I would just love to know the backstory.
Not exactly sure how it started, but eventually I got into woodworking. So my grandfather was doing it when I was a kid, and I was too young to really kind of be into it. But when he passed away, we we got all of his tools, and so I was like, oh, that sounds cool. So I started playing with the tools, and the first thing I did was a pizza peel, because I love pizza. Then I needed help to plane it, because it was too thick. So I found a place where I live, and the guy got me in, and he gave me a little lesson, and I was like, oh man, this is cool. And so I got into it more and more, and it's just a hobby of mine. I love making little things. But then this past off season, I had more time on my hands, and so I was doing a bunch of that. And eventually Heidi reached out to me, and she's like, oh my God, can you make woodworking trophies for Rasputitsa? And I'm like, oh my God, yes, that would be so cool. And she was like, make whatever you want. And I was like, oh, all right, well, that's a cool, like, that was a big challenge because I didn't know what to make. So I had a few ideas, and eventually what I did was a beer opener, but it's basically something that you can put on the wall, like a decoration. It's the shape of the state of Vermont, and it's a beer opener at the same time. So I think it was 8 of those, and yeah, it was super cool.
Yeah. I want to race just to get one. When I saw it, I was like, whoa, those are sick. And the fact that you crafted, I was like, this is unbelievable.
Thank you. It's really fun to make, because you get, for me anyway, like I get so into it. Like I don't see time go by, and it's one of those things that I can do that I can really be focused on for for a long period of time. And there's not many things I can do that way.
Right.
So I don't know, it's really cool. I hope I can do more. If I had time, I'd do more.
It's good to have like another thing to do besides just going out and training.
Oh yeah.
You're training all the time. For me, I loved music, I loved cooking, I loved hanging with friends, I loved doing so many different things. So I can totally appreciate that you found something that allows you to kind of be mindless.
Oh yeah,
it's a little bit of meditation actually. Like
it
you're
really
actually
is.
doing, you don't even know it, but you really are not thinking about anything, which is it's a nice way to kind of spend your time. And there's another thing. Speaking of things that we do that keep our mind away from the ride, I've DJ'd a handful of things, and we were both at the time sponsored by Cliff Bar, and you rode before this program that you have, Specialized Feedback Team. We were out at the Sea Otter Classic, and I was DJing, pumping the jams, everybody's dancing, having a good time, and then kind of the music stopped, and we needed to put on like a special track for the team. And you guys rolled in like a bunch of bandits, and you took the scene over, and there were like a lot of people here. I'm talking like a few hundred people were just there to dance, but also to see this performance of the women's Cliff Bar team, where you guys had like a rap, a dance, and a whole thing. I need to know more. We need the backstory about how this happened.
Welcome to a women's team. Yeah, I mean, it's I don't think we can call it a performance.
Okay.
It wasn't that great.
It left an impression on me.
I'm glad it did. Yeah, I mean, when we were on this team, I think the chemistry between all of us riders and the staff, honestly, it was just so great. It really felt like a family, and we were spending a lot of time together. And so we all got really close, and this was one of our team camps, and we were just talking to each other, and we're like, it would be cool to do something different for a team video, or like something different. And so we started rapping, which is something we had been doing before, because Leah Davison was now on the team for the first time, and we had a history of rap battles together, and so it was just natural that we would do a rap.
Okay.
And so we all got into it, but everyone got into it. Like we all had names, and everyone had like a rapper's name, and it was pretty cool. And so we spent the whole team camp doing that, when we were supposed to do like all the shoot, you know how team camp is.
Yeah.
But all the free moment were spent like doing rhymes, and then between the photo shoots we're like, oh, I have a new rhyme, and we're like yelling at each other. So it was just like a fun thing to do, and then we finally got to present it twice. We did it at Cliff Bar, because every Thursday morning they have a company meeting.
Okay.
So we did it on stage at Cliff Bar. That was the first time. And then since we had practiced so much, we had the opportunity to do it again at the Sea Otter party.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How did that work with the European riders on the team? I'm feeling like if English is like a second or maybe even a third or fourth language, and you're doing that stuff, I'm just thinking about because you had quite a few European riders.
We do. Yeah, we did.
It
was pretty hilarious. Eva was so funny.
Yeah.
I think we called her Notorious EVA, because it's like
that's how I
Notorious. Yes, and Andrea was Dr. Dre, but both of them had no clue who we were referencing to.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
why am I a doctor? So it was pretty funny, but they really got into it too. They had the moves, and they had like a shorter line, but they really delivered perfectly. So it was great.
Oh man, that was good times. Those were good times. And when you were on Cliff Bar, you were doing a ton of mountain biking. You were traveling a lot in Europe. And then I remember last year you also went to Europe and you raced like quite a bit of it, the end of the season after Pan Am's maybe.
Exactly, yes. So after Pan Am's last year, I went to Europe and we had minimal funding. And so we decided that if we stayed in Europe, it would probably be cheaper. So we stayed there for 3 months after Pan Am's, all the way until Worlds.
That had its success and also hardships.
Yes, more hardships than success.
Last year you also, you went through the Pan American Championships. You had a pretty good duel for that race.
Oh yeah, solid.
Yeah.
Solid battle.
For the Pan American Championships, which was up near where you live. I don't know how close, but it was in that part of Canada. And having been to Europe so many times and having had horribly hard trips as well, being away from home, the racing level being high. I just be curious to know what happened. Like where did that?
That's a good question. Many things went wrong, I would say. And one of the major things, and I think it may come back to what we talked about earlier, but I got so bored. I was really, really bored. Like, the races were fun, but between the races, I really had nothing to do. And you train 2 hours, but there's still like 10 hours left in the day, so it's long. And then the training was another thing that went wrong. I got sick, and then I really struggled to stay fit because I was sick. And so, do you go ride 4 hours in the rain or you stay inside? And then like all of these questions, and I just didn't really know how to do it. I didn't know the training grounds well, and I feel like I didn't train as much as I normally do. And so eventually my fitness came down and I was struggling even more in the races. So those were factors that were difficult for me. Then, you know how it is, like just getting there is difficult. I mean, you think they kind of want you to be there because they give you some start money, but then you show up and they don't want to let you park here, and then you can't find the numbers because it's in the random building that everyone knows which one, but you don't know. So it's
not made easy.
It's not made easy. And so I really struggled with that. And I came to a point where I was sick, I wasn't that fit, and I was dreading the moment where I would actually get to the race. Like, the fight to the start line was what I was dreading. Once it started, I like racing, so it's fine. But yeah, I really struggled. I mean, to the point where in Pontchâteau at the World Cup, I was sick again, and I was in the car waiting for the start, and I just started crying, and I told Dave, like, oh, you know what, maybe this is not for me. Like, maybe I'm not competitive enough. I don't know what it is, but I don't really want it anymore. Like, I'm not sure. Luckily, he was there, and now that I took a step back, I kept going. And
I'm glad a good teammate does.
Exactly. So, yeah, it wasn't easy at all.
Having also, cried in many fields.
In
fact, one here in Madison after the 2016 wreck that I had here, famously breaking my ribs. I remember Molly, a friend of the team manager, a friend of ours. I was literally just in the field by myself crying, like, okay, so this is where it's over. This is how my career is over. First race of the year, busted ribs, the national champion, just really hurting. And I think it's probably good for people of the show to hear those hardships from top riders that are national, Pan American, World Cup winning champion riders that also go through these hard times. And I mean, if I told you the amount of times that I tried to quit racing,
oh man, me too. I have a list.
The list would be pretty long.
But you know what? And I think you would probably agree with that. Like, those moments, they're so hard in the moment. But like, two things. One, you learn so much from them. And when things start going well again, it means so much more because you've gone through all these hardships.
That's right. So you've won this World Cup. It is a huge goal that you've put a check mark next to. How will you recalibrate for your next big goal? I assume you have another one for the year.
Yes, I've had a few times in my career, a couple times, I've had a breakthrough performance for me. I screwed it up afterwards, and what I mean by that is that when I got 5th at the Worlds in 2017, to me, I was like, oh my God, now like I can do anything. And I failed like so badly. And I'm glad that I've had these experiences before, because I know what not to do, if that makes sense. I know not to make the same mistakes. I guess I've seen people close to me win World Cups and World Championships, and I've seen how nothing changed. And I've seen how the next morning they woke up, they went to the bathroom like a normal person, and they kept working hard and they kept working at their craft and always trying to find how they could improve. To me, like, having seen that so close, I know that's the only way to do it. So that's cool. I'm lucky that I've been surrounded by these people.
Right. We're gonna switch it up a little bit here, and this is gonna be a little bit more fun. We do this on the show. This is a segment that I call Getting to Know Maghalie Rochette. Okay, so what we're gonna do here, and for anyone that hasn't listened, I'm gonna present you with a hypothetical scenario. Okay, and then I'm gonna give you some questions, some A, B, C, and D, and you can pick which one you want, or you can kind of go on your own, but these are the rules of the game, okay? So we're gonna do Getting to Know Maghalie Rochette.
Do I have an amount of time to respond, like 3 seconds and like a buzzer thing? No, okay.
There's no, you can
I get competitive.
Yeah, no, I understand. It's in you. That's fine. All right, so I'm gonna work through this one. So the first question is, it's Cliff Bar Factory Athlete Work Day, okay? So they put you on the baking floor with a Cliff employee who's been a real stickler for the protocol, but you're bonking super hard, like meaning you have no energy because you rode a massive week of training leading up to it. Now, the oats and the chocolate are kind of hitting your tongue and you're salivating. The bars are twirling, they're being shaped. And you know, because the employee told you that if you stick your hand in the product or anywhere near it, they have to throw the entire batch out.
Ooh.
But you're desperate.
I'm desperate.
You're desperate. Do you A, create a diversion by yelling, "Watch out!" and sneak your hands in there and grab some unbaked Cliff Bar and ram it into your mouth, even though you know if caught, it's gonna ruin the entire batch? Do you B, get on the floor and pretend that you slipped, but you have your mouth open as the Cliff Bars just divert from your hand and go into your mouth off the conveyor belt? Do you C, try to befriend the employee to the point of absurdness and swindle them to let you eat some of these Cliff Bars? Or D, do you crack and have to give it up and call it a day?
Totally C. I would totally try to get the employee in on this and try that. I mean, no hesitation, C.
Okay, that makes sense. I think, yes, after what we've talked about here already, I think that makes perfect sense. Are you ready for the next question? All right. So after winning the World Cup in Iowa, President Macron of France's assistant hears an interview with you speaking French. He shoots you a message on Instagram congratulating you, and he invites you to the presidential offices in France to meet President Macron. Come to find out, his assistant mistaked you for being French, and the president has no idea because his assistant does stuff, and then, after you arrive, he introduces you to the big group of people as Maghalie Rochette from the south of France. Do you A, instead of correcting him, gently turn up your Quebec accent and ask if he's ever had poutine? B, go along with it and promptly after the ceremony, rush to the French embassy and try to get a fake passport to show your loyalty. C, put your most polite and French on and let him know how much you love France. Or do you say nothing and act as French as possible?
Oh my God, that's a tough one. A part of me totally wants to act as French as possible, but I think I would have no chance because my accent is so strong. So I think for that reason, I would pull up my best Quebecois accent and ask if he wants poutine. Okay,
all right, perfect. Just to let him have it. Just be like, I want you to know. Okay, that's a great answer. Yeah. I think that's the way to do it. Then you guys hopefully share a laugh. He's a little embarrassed, but it's a great,
I think it would be a good bonding moment.
You're definitely really famous after that.
I think so, yes.
Okay.
Going for the fame.
All right, this is the last one, and this one I think is important because this I think is this is going to tell us a lot about you. So, You're hanging out at the race, and you got to go to the bathroom, but you had an idol of yours, and I don't know who this might be, but they sent you a message on Instagram. So you're so excited. You're like, oh my God, my idol sent me this message. You run to the bathroom and you're just kind of crazy, but you literally forget that you had your phone in your jersey pocket.
Oh, that has happened before. Yeah.
Kerplunk.
Oh no. Oh, that has not happened before.
It goes in. Do you quickly, without thinking, thrust your hand into that blue, murky nastiness and retrieve your phone? B, you yell as loudly as you can to David and you make him get it.
No.
C, in a complete freak out, you scream like Mortal Kombat style, you run out of the porta roulette and you kick it over to retrieve your phone. Or D, is it gone forever?
Oh my God. That is a tough one. The logical part of me wants to say D, but I know myself, and I know that if it actually fell down, unfortunately, my first reaction, without thinking, I would probably put my hand right in it and grab it, and then be like, what did I just do? I think it would be like, I would regret, but I would do it without thinking, Unfortunately, that's who I am, I think.
We're going to let the listeners figure out what they would do. I want to thank you for playing that. That was great.
That was super fun. Thank you so much.
And
let's hope this doesn't happen. Let's hope not.
Definitely. I think the comments from this one will be interesting to hear what others have done.
I think no one will want to come shake my hand.
It's all right. I'm just going to leave it there. Magali, thank you so much. Congratulations. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. That was super fun.
Okay. What a great conversation with Magali. She is a total sport for dealing with those hypotheticals at the end. I hope you guys thought they were funny and enjoyed them as much as I did. I have no idea where my imagination will take me when I'm writing them, but today was a great episode. I really enjoyed it. It was a first for me in many ways as well, because we literally sat down with all of the guests that we had on the show live. And so that's the first time that we've been able to do that here with the podcast. A lot of stuff is done over the internet and in different ways to be able to create the show. But in my first year of retirement, traveling around, being able to reconnect with all the riders that I'd see on the circuit regularly week in and week out has been a real treat. So I hope you guys liked this week's podcast. If you did, please subscribe. Please send us out on your social media. Let people know that you're listening to the show. Leave us a review if you haven't already. And we look forward to catching up with you all next week. Thanks so much for listening.